Hi everyone. This is a new series I'm experimenting on where I will be reviewing some news about what is going on in Japan in terms of economy, finance, and the markets. So if you're interested in those topics, please look forward to following episodes. I try to make these once a week for now, but if it catches on, then maybe more often. Okay, without further rambling, let's start the news. So first, let's take a look at the Nikkei index, which tracks the stock prices of the biggest companies in Japan. You can see here how we took a big dip because of the coronavirus fears. But what is more interesting is how fast we actually recovered. We dipped, and until 6th of February, we had already recovered about 100% of the damage that was taken here. So apparently, the reason seemed to be the China Central Bank that injected over $243.88 billion to the markets. So I guess we are happy about that. I mean, it was not only in Japan, but also the European and the American stocks that went up because of this. So crisis averted because central bank printed money, I guess. So hooray. Then let's go to the news. So here we have the Bank of Japan policymaker Takako Masai, who is cautiously optimistic on a global outlook despite coronavirus, which has been the headlines lately. So she said the global economy is on track for a rebound around mid-year as manufacturing activity picks up. So let's see what is actually happening with the manufacturing PMI index. First, for Japan, the manufacturing PMI. Well, yes, here, as you can see, it went pretty low for the last year's end, but then we rebounded a little bit for January. But still, whether this rebound is long-lasting is to be seen, so I guess you can be cautiously optimistic about that. About the global manufacturing PMI, by the way, this is research by Yardeni. Here you can see. So the blue is the manufacturing for global, and yes, as he said, we have rebounded a little bit, but still I would say it's too early to speculate whether this is really a fundamental structural change, because as we all know, the manufacturing sectors have been almost in a recession, especially the car manufacturers. But we will be tracking this index in the future to see what will happen. Next we have an article here. The title is Japan average wage fell as part-time ranks rose in 2019. So just as in US and Europe, a lot of jobs in Japan have shifted to contracting and part-time jobs. So this is a global phenomenon. Here you can see the proportion of workers that are part-time reached a record 31.53%. So that is almost a third of the jobs that are part-time now. It's kind of crazy when you think about it. So yeah, that is the reason, at least they claim that is the reason why the wage fell. But then I took a look at what is happening overall with the wages in Japan. First, I want to show you a chart that tracks wages compared to the M2 money supply index. So roughly speaking, M2 is the amount of money printed, the amount of money supply. So you can see here that the money supply has risen a lot compared to the wage. So basically the wages haven't kept up with the amount of money that has been printed in Japan. So basically inflation has gotten the better of many people. Next on this chart you can see how much the wages changed comparatively to the last year. And this is all of the wages, so part-time and full-time. So from 2013 to this moment, you can see that, yes, at some years it has increased. Here it was 2% increase, which is a lot. But largely we have been stagnating and declining with the wages. So nothing to celebrate, I would say. Next article we have about Japan car makers brace for supply and demand nightmares due to coronavirus. So I think that many people were estimating that this would happen. I mean, people still don't know the extent of the damage that this will cause to Japanese car makers and other companies. But here we have some people. Here is Toshiaki Okada, who said that suppliers have said that they may not be able to provide their products on time due to the idling of their Chinese factories. So it seems that the Chinese provinces and municipalities have ordered many businesses not to resume operations until February 10th. And even that is not guaranteed yet. If the virus outbreak is still continuing during that time, it is very possible that they have to extend the time. Also, Yoshida estimates that 1 month suspension of operations at Honda's plant in Wuhan and Guangzhou would slash the firm's net profits by 40 billion yen. So that is a lot. Every single day they can't operate, they are losing a lot of money. Japan's biggest automaker, Toyota Motor Corp, is still gauging how the situation will unfold. Quote, "We are sorry that we are not yet able to assess the impact of the spread of virus on our profits and business," Masayoshi Shirayanagi, a Toyota operating officer, told reporters Thursday when the firm announced its April-December earnings. So we are very much still in the speculation phase of this outbreak, and it's very hard to say what will happen, as you probably noticed from the stock index. Also, investors are very unsure should they buy the dips or not, but I guess they did, or at least the central banks did, as you could see from the previous chart. Okay, next news. Here we have Japan household spending fell 4.8% in warm December, weighted down by tax hike. So yes, there was a tax hike in the last October where the consumption tax was raised from 8% to 10%. But still, very largely for food products, the tax remains to be 8%. So if you go to a restaurant to eat out, or for example, then you would pay 10%. And for everything else, of course. But yes, here. So household spending fell for a third straight month in December on the continued impact of October's consumption tax hike, together with sluggish demand for winter items due to warm temperatures, government data showed Friday. So I find it kind of funny how they are blaming the warm temperatures. I mean, yes, to some degree, I guess that would dampen demand. Here they say that for items such as heating appliances, clothing, and fuel. So, but I don't think that every single person has to buy all of these things again every single year. I mean, wouldn't you have your old heating appliance from the last winter to use? And I don't know. I guess it depends on the people. Here you can see how previously the consumption tax hike has affected the spending in Japan. So this is in Japanese, but here you can see how from 96 to 97 they hiked the tax from 3% to 5%. And yep, the consumption fell. And from 13 to 14 they hiked it from 5% to 8%. And again, there was a slump in consumption. And now we can see some of the effects that has happened because of the tax hike from 8 to 10%. But I think it's still very limited and early to say what will happen in the future because we are still early in this year. Okay, next news we have, this is also in Japanese, but I will translate it to you, so don't worry. The government is basically using some of its government agencies to give lending to some small and middle-sized enterprises that are having trouble because of the coronavirus spread. So largely enterprises that are in the tourism industry, for example, they are getting long-term and very low interest rate loans from government agencies such as the Development Bank of Japan and the Japan Financial Corporation. These agencies also are responsible for keeping alive many of Japan's zombie corporations, whether good or bad. So we have that. So the last article we have for today is also from Nikkei newspaper. So basically this person is pointing out how the Federal Reserve in the United States, so basically the central bank of the United States, has been printing a lot of money lately through the repo operations, which maybe I'll make a video in the future. Well, basically they are pumping money and they are injecting that money into the system, into the financial system. Yet they have not preferred to call that quantitative easing, which is the term they used to use for printing money and injecting it into the system. So basically they are saying it's not quantitative easing and they are just swapping one short-term asset for another. Here you can see how much they printed with quantitative easing 1, QE2, QE3, and here is the most recent one, but they don't want to call it QE4. But many people are very suspicious for that. It's very interesting to see this kind of news coming from Japan, given the fact that Japan is the king of printers, at least so far. So we will see how the situation unfolds. But that is all the news for today, and I will make another one next week, so stay tuned for that as well. Thanks for watching.